Proverbs 15 is a very profound Proverbs series for us in our day and age because this one's dealing about self-mastery and really important. We've talked about integrity, which is part of self-mastery. This one's getting a little bit more into mastering yourself to make a better world for yourself and others. So verse 1, a soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. Remember last time we talked about contention, some of the challenges that come with that. And this goes along those same lines of realizing that if you start to stir people up, you can escalate a problem by the words you use. You can also de-escalate a problem by the words you use. Learn to de-escalate situations. Do not try to encourage them to get worse. In fact, Brigham Young made a comment about this. He said, in all our daily pursuits in life, of whatever nature and kind, Latter-day Saints, and especially those who hold important positions in the kingdom of God, should maintain a uniform and even temper, both when at home and when abroad. They should not suffer reverses and unpleasant circumstances to sour their natures and render them fretful and unsocial at home, speaking words full of bitterness and biting acrimony to their wives and children, creating gloom and sorrow in their habitations, making themselves feared rather than beloved by their families. Anger should never be permitted to rise in our bosoms, and words suggested by angry feelings should never be permitted to pass our lips. A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. Wrath is cruel, and anger is outrageous. But the discretion of a man deferreth his anger, and it is his glory to pass over a transgression. Marvin J. Ashton said this as well. He said, too often we use communication periods as occasions to tell, dictate, plead, or threaten. Nowhere in the broadest sense should communication in the family be used to impose, command, or embarrass. In family discussions, differences should not be ignored, but should be weighed and evaluated calmly. One's point or opinion usually is not as important as a healthy continuing relationship. Courtesy and respect in listening and responding during discussions are basic in proper dialogue. How important it is to know how to disagree with another's point of view without being disagreeable. How important it is to have discussion periods ahead of decisions. Jones Stevens wrote, I have learned that the head does not hear anything until the heart has listened, and what the heart knows today, the head will understand tomorrow. So again, we shouldn't be encouraging contention. Do not try to stir people to anger or contribute to that and escalate those situations. De-escalate them is really important. Verse 2 is along those same lines. The tongue of the wise useth knowledge aright, but the mouth of fools poureth out foolishness. Very important. Verse 3, the eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. A wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness therein is a breach in the spirit. So a tongue, words, thoughts, beliefs in our mind to help us frame the world around us and how we understand it is important to look at. Are we angry at the world? Are we upset? Are we prideful about how, do we think everything should come to us kind of a deal? Or are we willing to be more honest in our dealings, basically? Verse 5, a fool despiseth his father's instruction, but he that regardeth reproof is prudent. We've heard that for several chapters now. Verse 6, in the house of the righteous is much treasure, but in the revenues of the wicked is trouble. So remember, they didn't specify what kind of treasure the righteous got, but they did specify money as far as wickedness is going. That's important. What is an asset doesn't have to be money. It could just be your family is your treasure. But in the revenues of the wicked, the revenues are income or money from the wicked. They can cause trouble. Verse 7, the lips of the wise disperse knowledge, but the heart of the foolish doeth not so. The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination to the Lord, but the prayer of the upright is his delight. So that's an important one to look at, because obviously sacrificing back then was important to do, more so than just saying a prayer, but sacrificing kind of helped that prayer along. More more ordinance work, basically. But a sacrifice done in wickedness or without the heart, without the sincerity, didn't help you. Just praying to God would help you more than sacrificing in a wicked way, basically. Verse 9, the way of the wicked is an abomination unto the Lord, but he loveth him that followeth after righteousness. This is important to think about. The way of wickedness is an abomination. It didn't say the wicked are an abomination. It's going down that path of wickedness is where the problems are. But to he that loveth God, God will love those that follow after him. Now this is important. It doesn't matter where on the path of wickedness they are. If they turn around and start following God, he will love them and take care of them. So verse 10, correction is grievous unto him that forsaketh the way, and he that hateth reproof shall die. So again, if you think you're the smart one and you got your own path and you're going and you don't want other people's advice, you're going to have a hard time accepting the opinions of others. Verse 11, hell and destruction are before the Lord. How much more then the hearts of the children of men? A scorner loveth not one that reproveth him, neither will he go unto the wise. So again, taking counsel from others is super, super important. If you think that people are attacking you or hurting you or criticizing you just because they're giving you feedback, if that's your knee-jerk reaction, you need to work on that, because that's not what we should be doing. Verse 12, a scorner loveth not one that reproveth him, neither will he go unto the wise. Again, if you are prideful, and if you believe you know what you believe, there's no reason to go to somebody else to learn, basically. Verse 13, a merry heart maketh a cheerful countenance, but by sorrow of the heart the spirit is broken. So our attitude can make a huge difference in how we do things. Verse 14, the heart of him that hath understanding seeketh knowledge, but the mouth of fools feedeth on foolishness. All days of the afflicted are evil, but he that is of a merry heart hath a continual feast. So days go better when we are merry. We have a happy heart. We're looking at the positive life. Just life goes better, basically. Verse 16, better is little with the fear of the Lord than great treasure and trouble therewith. You don't need a whole lot of substance or stuff if you follow God, because God can help you and provide things for you. In fact, another one, verse 17, better is a dinner of herbs where love is than a stalled ox and hatred therewith. So even having a salad of wild leaves is better than basically getting all your industrial stuff stuck and having problems, kind of a thing. Let's see. Verse 18, a wrathful man stirreth up strife, but he that is slow to anger appeaseth strife. Again, de-escalate. Verse 19, the way of the slothful man is an hedge of thorns, but the way of the righteous is made plain. That's a good one. So realize that, again, slothful, you're not working hard, you're struggling, you are causing your own problems in a way. Verse 20, a wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish man despiseth his mother. That's important. It's interesting that a wise son maketh glad his father, but a foolish man despises his own mother. So it's interesting how they switch those two, father and mother, around. And I think that makes sense. If you have a kid that's just a total jerk to people, he's foolish in what he does, mom's going to have some heartache over that kid, because she loves that kid and wants to see him be better, but she knows he's got some problems, basically. Verse 21, folly is joy to him that is destitute of wisdom, but a man of understanding walketh uprightly. Good advice. Verse 22, without counsel purposes are disappointed, but in the multitude of counselors they are established. This proverb is reading very similar to Proverbs 11. If you remember right, we went over a lot of similar philosophies there too. Verse 23, a man hath joy by the answer of his mouth, but a word spoken in due season, how good is it? What happens when you speak words out of due season? incorrect things. Boy, can you have problems. But in season, that's good to say correct things. Verse 24, the way of life is above to the wise, that he may depart from hell beneath. Good to know. Good to know on that one. So having wisdom in what we do is very, very important. Now, verse 25, the Lord will destroy the house of the proud, but he will establish the border of the widow. The thoughts of the wicked are an abomination to the Lord, but the words of the pure are pleasant words. He that is greedy of gain troubleth his own house, but he that hateth gifts shall live. So again, talking about selfishness, basically. If you hoard to yourself, you're not helping others, that's not going to go well for you in the long run. Be willing to give, be willing to share, and help other people out. Verse 28, the heart of the righteous studieth to answer, but the mouth of the wicked poureth out evil things. Boy, that's a good one for this day and age, realizing that most of the time when people do research, they go an inch deep but a mile wide on their research instead of an inch wide and a mile deep. So understand the truth. Dig deep, have patience. Look in there, it's going to help a lot. And seek the Spirit through the whole process too. Verse 29, the Lord is far from the wicked, but he heareth the prayer of the righteous. Very important. God is closer to those who are close to him. Verse 30, the light of the eyes rejoiceth the heart, and a good report maketh the bones fat. So good times, good days, good opportunities, being positive helps you improve. Verse 31, the ear that heareth the reproof of life abideth among the wise. He that refuseth instruction despiseth his own soul, but he that heareth reproof getteth understanding. So again, this whole idea of being reproved, having correction is important in life, and we need to be willing to accept that correction. Neal A. Maxwell, in fact, said this when he was a commissioner of church education. He said, our lifestyle must make allowance for that need to deal with reality in our own lives. In Proverbs, we read, verse 31 and 32 we just read, the disciple of Christ needs to expect the reproof of life and suffering, for suffering is that sweat that comes from working out our salvation. Suffering is on the agenda for each of us. That was a speech that he gave at BYU in 1972. So salvation takes work. Now this, I might get some kickback here from people saying, but you say that grace, we're saved by grace. Yes, we are saved by grace. But God says, Christ, when he says, I'll pay your sins, you need to do what I ask of you, which is keep my commandments. And that's working out our salvation is what that means. Keeping his commandments, striving to do what he wants us to do, which is follow his example. Do things the way he would do it. Think the way he would think. Act the way he would act. And as we change our nature to fit more of what he does, that is working out our salvation. That's what that really means. Becoming more like Christ. And last one here, verse 33, the fear of the Lord is the instruction of wisdom, and before honor is humility. Very important. Honor with pride is not a good thing. Honor with humility can be a good thing. So always remember that. So let's go to the next Proverbs as we continue forward.